Hi everyone, welcome to Tournament Talks. I'm Christy Halbert. This is a recap of day 4 of the Paris Games. Sessions 12, 13, and 14 took the ring. Let's get to some of the highlights. In session 12, Amari Jones made his Olympic debut against Chi-Wei Khan of Taiwan. This is the 71 kilogram division, 156 pounds. Amari was much taller than his opponent. He stayed at mid-range to reach his opponent, and doing so was able to also prevent his shorter opponent from getting in range to punch very often. Amari looked to be an absolute man on a mission. He focused on straight punches, he threw a lot of single jabs, he threw 1-2 combinations, he kept it simple. And by the way, these weren't range-finding jabs. These were sharp, scoring jabs. Taiwan tried to close the distance at the end of the round, but Amari just tied him up, and Amari won the round 5-0. More of the same in round 2. Amari almost exclusively threw jabs, lead crosses, and combinations of jab-cross. Sometimes he finished off with a lead hook. Amari controlled the pace and space of the entire round. Great distance control, moving forward and backward, and circling with his jabs to prevent the Taiwanese boxer from getting within range. Amari stayed on his long punches. It totally paid off. He won the round 5-0. Again, so his opponent's only chance of a win now is a knockout, and that can't happen if he can't close the distance. In round 3, Amari stayed on the jab, circling, sometimes checking out in the other direction with a long hook. So much movement from Amari, he basically used every inch of the ring to his advantage, and he had the gas tank for it. Another 5-0 round on all scorecards. Amari Jones wins his Olympic opener by unanimous decision. He won every scorecard for every judge in every round. Amari Jones next faces Bulgaria on August 3rd in the quarterfinals. In the same session, we had women's 75 kilogram action, that's 165 pounds. Parker of Australia beat Mexico's Ortiz. The Mexican was born in California, but a few years ago she switched over to represent Mexico when she felt she wasn't getting a chance on the international level with Team USA. So she went up in weight. She took the mandatory waiting period away from international competition, and she worked her way to Paris. She did her absolute best to try to close the distance against her Australian opponent, but Australia made really good use of her reach and won a unanimous decision. The final match of session 12 was a women's quarterfinal at 60 kilograms, that's 132 pounds. It was another tiebreaker when the boxers from China and Serbia went back and forth, and then China got a warning in the second round. Despite 2 judges scoring the match on points for Serbia, the 3 judges that had it all tied all broke the tie with their selection for China. 2 of those judges had even given the 3rd round to Serbia, but they'd scored the first 2 for China, and then they turned around and voted for China to win the tied match. So China advances to the semifinals of the lightweight division. Session 13 gave us Jamal Harvey. Both boxers have pretty wide stances. Jamal in red, and his opponent from Brazil was in blue and is a southpaw. They were pretty cagey in the first round. They were both happy to trade timed single shots from the outside. It seems even though he leads at times, Jamal prefers to counterpunch. Jamal's right found a home on several occasions, and his jab was effective. Jamal was down after the first round 2-3. In round 2, Brazil started a little faster. Jamal mostly was looking to counter, but just missing as the Brazilian would pull out of range. We could hear chants of USA from the crowd. Jamal fought the entire round moving forward, but most of his shots missed. Sometimes he would fall into his shots, the boxers would often tangle, and they really came close to clashing heads. The second round was for blue again, 2-3. So now blue has 2 cards, and Jamal has it wrapped up with 1 judge. So it comes down to the 3rd round. In round 3, Jamal starts really fast. The Brazilian is using his reach well. Jamal ends up with a nasty cut on his right cheek under the eye, and they continue to tangle. Jamal went for absolute broke. He's bleeding from the mouth by the end of the round. The boxers continued to tangle. Anytime Jamal would close the distance, the Brazilian was very comfortable from the outside. He seemed to know that that's how he was going to score best. It was a fantastic effort by Jamal Harvey. Another lesson that you never give up until the end of the match. The judges gave the third round 4-1 in favor of Jamal, and that did it for Jamal Harvey. He won the match with a final score of 3-2. Now he'll need to address that cut so it doesn't become an issue in his next match. You know my feeling on headgear. It needs to go back on the men. We could prevent cuts like this. And hopefully he heals up and Jamal faces Kyrgyzstan on August 3rd. In women's 75 kilogram, it was Canada's Thibault and the flag bearer for the refugee Olympic team, Cindy Ngamba. She trains in England. Canada was very tall. She's a southpaw. She uses her reach really well. I thought it was interesting at the very beginning of the match, the referee jumped in to give Cindy an 8 count within the first few seconds of the start. It seemed very premature, especially since both boxers seemed evenly matched and had exchanged fast and strong punches. Ngamba gained momentum each round, but it was an absolute nail-biter. Ngamba won on a close margin of 3-2, and she advances to the quarterfinals. And in women's 60 kilogram action, Kelly Harrington from Ireland won over a solid boxer from Colombia to advance to the semifinals. The Colombian Angel Valdez Pina is a delightful southpaw boxer, so poised. Harrington is an accomplished and solid boxer. She's confident, she's focused, and her aim is to become a 2-time gold medalist. Kelly Harrington of Ireland advances to the semifinals. In the final session of the day, at men's 57 kilograms, the Cuban Seidel Horta Rodriguez del Rey suffered a nasty cut at the end of the match against his opponent from Kyrgyzstan. The doctor was called in for a stop to the action, and according to the rules, the decision goes to the scorecards. The split decision went to Kyrgyzstan, who had a good second and third round. But the Cuban is a victim of the 10-point must scoring system math. If we look at all of the judges' cards from each of the rounds, Cuba actually won 8 out of the 15 scorecards. But due to the mix of which rounds the judges awarded him, he ends up losing a split decision 3-2. And at women's 75 kilograms, one of my all-time favorite boxers from Panama, Althina Bailan, took on Kazakhstan. I've got a soft place in my heart for Bailan because she took part in an international development opportunity in 2014 where I was a coach. So I got to know her, I got to work with her, and she's such a great person. She's got a great attitude. She ended up winning the 2014 World Championships as a complete underdog, and she became the first Pan-American woman to ever win a world title. She won her match against her opponent from Kazakhstan. Bailan advances to the quarterfinals. It was a great day for Team USA today. Let's see what's coming up for the team tomorrow, August 1st. Morel McCain makes her Olympic debut against Uzbekistan. That'll be exciting. And Jennifer Lozano debuts against Finland. That should also be an exciting match as well. More bouts coming up tomorrow in 3 sessions: women's 50, women's 66, women's 54, men's 63.5, and men's 92 kilogram. Enjoy the tournament.